It's Friday, February 18th, and this morning I'll just open with the statement of what a mess. What a fucking mess. As usual, we are right up against a deadline to refund the government. We have less than 2 days to pass a short-term funding extension to avoid a government shutdown on Friday. And it's unclear when the Senate will vote on this continuing resolution. You would think by now they would be prepared to vote quickly and ready to go. But no, not these guys. These guys just futz around and do it and they don't get it done. And we don't know when they're going to get ready to do this. But here's what I do know, right? The Republicans are balking. They are making demands to avoid the vote, to stop the vote. A group of 6 conservative senators specifically said they would oppose the expedited passage of the resolution unless they get a vote to defund the remaining vaccine mandates the Biden administration imposed. Now, why don't they get this thing straightened out weeks in advance? No, they wait till the bitter end because then they can apply pressure, right? And what is even worse than this situation is that some Democrats are absent due to personal and family reasons. So the party is now short the number of votes to defeat the Republican amendments. How can that be? How stupid is that? Doesn't somebody tell these people they gotta be working? Yes, family considerations are very, very important. I know that from having run a company with 300 people. But sometimes you have to sacrifice. Sometimes you have to avoid the family situation. You have to put it on the back. It has to become a second issue, not a first issue. This issue is very, very important. So unless the family situation is a very dire situation, those senators ought to be working. And here's what I see happening. If the government is shut down, then there will be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of government workers who will not be working. And then it will not be paid. And then the essential workers, those that have to be on the job, they won't get paid either until this thing is set. So you have a bunch of people at stake. Some who will get paid eventually and some who won't get paid at all. And do the Republicans care about that? Do the Democrats care about that? No. They are only interested in their little world, their little fantasy world where everything is okay. No matter what they do, everything is okay. And then when this thing is over, because it eventually will be settled, and maybe the shutdown will be 2 days or a week or a month even, and they will stand up there proudly and say the other guys are to blame, that the Republicans are the ones to blame because they didn't want to do this, that, and the other thing. And the Republicans will say that the Democrats are to blame because they didn't want to defund and they didn't want to do this, and that, right? And it's a real mess. And it's a continuing mess because once and for all, we should put a budget in place for 2 years or 5 years or whatever it is so that we don't come up against this thing every 2 months. And then government people, Democrats and Republicans, use it for leverage to get the other party to bend to their will. So things that have been settled, like the funding for those bills, that's a settled issue. It's those. You can't defund it all of a sudden. The bill was passed. Everybody's depending on that bill. Now the Republicans want to defund the bill. And what else do they want? That's all they're complaining about right now, but I'm sure there's a lot more. And I'm wondering why we still stick with this 2-party system. Maybe we need to have 3 or 4 or 5 parties. Maybe we need to become a parliamentary democracy instead of a republic. This business of being a republic means that the federal government has less power, that the states have lots of power. And the states have power and they elect senators who don't really care about this country, in my mind. They do not care about this country. And it's obvious because every 2 or 3 months we go through this cycle. If they cared about this thing, they would sit down and settle the budget issues once and for all. Why can't they have an automatic renewal? Like, no matter what happens, if we can't fund the government and we can't vote on this thing, these things will just take place. And so then the vote will be, let's stop those things from taking place. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Wouldn't that be terrific if there was some place that made funding the government automatic? And then the voting situation that arose from it would be to stop the automatic thing and do something else. But if it was automatic, we wouldn't be going through this. We wouldn't be going through this crap. And these guys taking off for their family or whatever. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that this is a crisis. This is a crisis, and this is a crisis that we knew about. So unless the family thing was really emergency, you shouldn't have planned it for this particular time. You know, you have to consider what your job is about. You can't let the country hang just because you have a family situation. And the Republicans, they're just looking for an edge somehow or other to push the Democrats into some corner because the margins are so slim in getting things done. It's 50-50 in the Senate, and in the Congress, the Democrats have 4 seats more maybe. So you can't even afford to take a day off, an emergency day off in that situation, because if a vote comes up, you're letting the party down. It's horrible. It's horrible when you look at this. And we are supposed to be a leading nation in the world. I tell you what we're leading in. Stupidity. Stupidity. And fucking up. That's what we lead in. Right now, we are a disaster. And it's getting to be worse. It's going to get worse. Because in 2024, the whole balance of this country may shift. Not 22. In 22, the whole balance may shift. So, I'm warning you, take a look at this stuff and recognize the fact that we are a nation in turmoil. And we don't have the strength of leadership right now to carry us through. I mean, Biden's busting his ass, but he's not getting anything really done, and his image is terrible. And Kamala Harris has disappeared from the scene. I don't know what she's doing, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they should stay under the radar and get things done. But they're not getting anything done. And you know that Congress and the Senate, the President, and all of those people in high-level offices, they get paid during these shutdowns. Well, I think they shouldn't get paid. They should not get a dime. In fact, they shouldn't get it when it opens up again. They should just lose that money. And I'm willing to bet if that happened, there wouldn't be any more shutdowns. So in any event, that's my story for today. And I am pissed off. Bye.